Too bad. Not too bad at all. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us.
No, thank you very much for booking the interview. It's a great pleasure to meet you, Carol, and I'm honored to be able to have an opportunity with the service delivery team with Lenovo in the North America.
Perfect, perfect. Well, let me introduce myself. I'll give you a bit of background of who I am, and then I will hand over to you to give me an intro as well. So I'm Carol Donaghy. I've been with Lenovo just coming up to 5 years. I joined Lenovo having worked with IT companies, a big stint at DXC and various other ones. Moved over to Lenovo. They'd got a big project that they wanted to kick off. They hadn't really got a transition management office. They hadn't really got a service delivery management office. I came in to run the transition. And I'm currently now heading up the North American transition team, but also have a second hat, which is at the minute just looking after this, excuse me, the service delivery management office. So fast forward to today, obviously where we are at the minute is we've now got a much larger transition management office and a much larger service delivery management office. I think there's around about 60 people hired around the globe. We have now got a portfolio of projects, and we're really setting up everything as over the last 5 years. So bit of background in what we do, obviously is mainly DAS, device as a service. So we obviously sell our devices along with packaging them up with the services, anything from just doing their refreshes to giving them configuration services, maybe some security, application packaging, all that kind of stuff. And obviously we're looking now for really expanding our service delivery management even further, and we've got a couple of good deals coming through in the Canada area, hence the fact that we're looking for people in Canada. Obviously we're looking for somebody that can come in and not just support the customer, but also, as I said, we're only 5 years in, so we're also looking for somebody that's got a wealth of information that can kind of join the big melting pot that we've got, because we've got lots of people that are all less than 5 years with Lenovo, and to tap into that wealth and kind of really grow our team and expand and continually improve, because we're far from perfect. 5 years is very short time to start up a new business, so obviously there's a lot of things that we can still do. So obviously that's what we're kind of hiring for, is someone that not only can come in and delight the customer but also help us grow as well. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'll hand over to you now if you want to just give me a bit of background.
Great, thanks, Carol. Appreciate it for the introduction, and I have to just a minor note. I see your background, and I know you're preparing for the World Cup here in Canada, in the North America, and
yes, we are.
And so it's going to be a big event, and I guess Lenovo is a big sponsor of that. So looking forward to that.
In fact, my team is involved in that heavily, and so are the service delivery managers. So lots of opportunities to get involved in that should you be successful. So
yeah, amazing. I think that for myself, I have, multiple years, in fact, over 10 years, performing service delivery functions for large organizations. I have over 5 years leading teams and making sure that I build out a process functioning organization for service delivery. And a lot of times the organizations that I work for, they see my education and my certifications, and they say, Randy, you're certified in this. Can you start the processes for this? I have 2 ITIL certifications, a foundations, plus a practitioner, so a mid-level range ITIL. I have my PMP, and then I went Agile, and I got my PMI ACP, which is Agile Certified Practitioner. And I also have my Scrum Alliance, so Scrum leadership as well. So my education has allowed me to put in practices and processes for large organizations. And my current stint right now is with BrokerLink Insurance, who is a wholly owned subsidiary of Intact Insurance. So Intact is a much larger organization, but BrokerLink is to give you an idea, revenue is around $4 billion Canadian wide. So they're relatively large, but it's a contract role. So when I saw the role for Lenovo, I said, "This is my opportunity." It's a large organization. You guys are like 77,000 employees. You got 60 billion in revenue, and I looked even at the workplace solutions. The digital workplace solutions team has $8 billion, and you're growing 13% year over year. And I thought this is an opportunity that I would love to take, and so I applied.
Well, you've certainly done your research there, so thank you for that. No, I mean, actually, one of my questions is usually what made you come and, want to come and work for Lenovo, and obviously you've done your research.
Yeah, I'm in the organizations that I work for are enterprise wide, and they've always used Lenovo as the end units. The endpoint units, so it's a good product for that. And in fact, a long time ago, we had the one in the unit that was one in all. It was just a very small frame, form factor frame that it would slide behind the monitor. And that was my first introduction. That was 1990s, I think, my introduction to Lenovo.
They've been around a while with the old ThinkPads and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Carol, but
no, it's a good product.
Yeah, so this particular team, the Digital Workplace Solutions, when I did look into it, you guys want to provide services to organizations across North America that have to deal with improving their workplace management. So workflows, integrating hardware and software, and that AI component is just so appealing to me. Well, for the last 6 months, I've been, I'm a nerd at heart, so I've been studying AI heavily. I do a little project here, retrieval augmented generation, and my prompts and my formulas, and so I have my GitHub repository, and so the whole component of what you guys are doing at the team is really enticing.
Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at your resume, obviously you've got a lot of skills that we're looking for. Otherwise, you wouldn't be being interviewed right now. So, I mean, obviously, I've looked through your resume and I can see, I mean, it's great that you've got ITIL. We have just been through a program to try and get all of our staff ITIL certified because it's such a key critical part of what we do. And we like to obviously project management, service delivery management, even though it's got the SDM title, there is still elements of project management in there, making sure that things run in a succinct manner and all that kind of stuff. So pretty impressive resume that you've got. So I'm not going to delve into that too much because we have got limited time, but some of the things that I wanted to kind of get from you, as I said, is that this is a fairly early new startup. And I've said, that we're really looking for people that have had experience in all different types of areas of service delivery management, from challenges for things being sold that we can't really deliver, and we've handed it over from my team, the transition team, to the service delivery manager, and the customer might not be particularly happy and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking at kind of how you've managed that. Have you got some examples of things that haven't really gone well and how you've really dealt with that with a customer and competing internal, stakeholder influences and all that kind of good stuff?
Yes, I can tell you about the from an understanding of large enterprises, which I had an experience at BrokerLink, and because they report into Intact. So Intact is the mothership, and then comes the BrokerLink PMO. And then comes the IT service delivery manager at the bottom. So that reporting structure, I've seen programs large enough to have all three levels. And I also experienced that at Flutter Entertainment, which is, I think it used to be, it was a run out of the UK, but it was actually listed in Dublin, Ireland, and now they moved it to the United States. But Flutter Entertainment is a large organization enough to have those three levels of service delivery. And when you interact with different levels, of course, there's always going to be a client, internal client that is not 100% satisfied. And what I'd like to do always is understand the layout of the land. At BrokerLink and the same thing at Flutter, with that reporting structure, you have to learn who is the delivery lead for the home office and who is the delivery lead at the PMO level. And myself was leading the IT part. Once you understand the people, the step-wise process to get a client happy is to understand them very well and understand their roles. So I get to know them very well in terms of what are their roles, what are their responsibilities, and find out exactly, out of all that level of reporting, who is the unhappy person. And then I try to have a conversation with them to elicit why they might be unhappy. In the case of BrokerLink, what we had was a stakeholder that was from HR. We still are deploying SailPoint, so it's an access management system, and they wanted to integrate several applications, which was Azure for Birthright Access and Oracle for financials and Workday for HR. And I realized the HR director was. She was, and when I understood her situation, that's what I'm telling you. I understand people. She was a new hire. She had only been there 3 weeks. So she was getting tons of emails, but I was seeing no response. And I was like, let me call her and say, Emily, hi, how are you? Let me introduce myself. I'm the IT delivery manager for this program. How are you doing? And she's like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, okay. And I understand that now. So how can I help you support that you're overwhelmed and to start easing on your pain a little bit? And I developed a reporting structure for her, specifically for her to ease her into the whole program that was already ongoing, and it was 100 miles an hour, and she was just coming on board. So that stepwise process of getting to know someone, understanding their background, and then delivering on a pain point that is crucial to them really comes a long way into building that relationship. And I think that's key. That relationship P is key, because the customer's the owner. They're the owner. And specifically, it's funny because that conversation of the customer being the owner was actually seen in because I'm a PMP. I'm a certified project manager. PMI had their seminar last year that brought a lot of PMPs together worldwide. And they changed their definition of done. So it used to be the project was considered done if you meted it by budget, time, and deliverables. If all that's wrapped in a good package, it's considered done. Now the definition of done for a delivery manager nowadays is, did you bring value? So things change. Change orders happen, and things happen throughout the program or throughout the project that either increase the scope or decrease the scope. So change management has to happen. But can you deliver the value? Like, that's where the relationships come in. If people think you're a good person that delivered value, they'll consider and check off the mark and say, yes, I thought the project is done appropriately. So I have a feeling that it all comes together, and that's my how I bring value to some client that is upset or unhappy with the process.
Absolutely. I mean, great answer. I mean, you're absolutely spot on. Communication, finding out what's, I mean, I always say there's a person behind every message you send. There's a person behind every laptop. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what they're dealing with. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm not going to send any responses today. That's not how people work. There's a reason behind it. So you ring them up and say, look, what's going on? How can I help? I need some help. I need you to respond. So if I need to help you to get that, then let's do this, and also understanding that the influences of different stakeholders and all that kind of stuff can they've got different reasons why they're invested in things. And, telling somebody that, well, I can make this, 10 times faster. They're like, well, that's great, but I need 3 more fields. Yeah. And it's understanding what you actually need, and and it's like you say, adding that value to the customer. I mean, you can add 3 fields that they might not even want, but you say, well, I've added value, but the customer didn't want it. You know what I mean? So it's really understanding that, and it's key. And I like the fact that, it's really, not just about being done. And we're going through an exercise actually at the moment to analyze a lot of our projects to see sold versus delivered. What did we actually achieve? Was it good? Did we do worse? The contract said we were going to do this. Did we actually do that? Or did we fail? Or did we do more? Did we get an upsell out of that? And the other good thing about the Lenovo is that we empower our service delivery managers to go out and upsell, and we give them, if you sold, say, an extra service, you would get commission on that, and that kind of stuff, because you've helped grow the organization, you've helped improve CX and all that kind of stuff. So great answer. Thank you very much for sharing that, and your ideas and thoughts behind that. So I guess, Lenovo is a big company, as I said, and I know that obviously you've looked at the different things that we do, but what is it that do you think that you're going to bring to such a large enterprise and organization to help us grow?
Correct. So the things that, if I can say back the question in my words, and you can tell me if I'm on the right path, what can I bring to the table that can help you guys grow is understanding of a large, I can bring to the table my expertise of having large organizations and small ones. I've also worked with organizations that have been 40 people. So
very different
startups,
dynamics.
very different.
Yeah.
And what I like to do best, is apply best practices to the delivery process. And so in my last stint at Flutter, and that's what I can bring value as well, is Flutter realized that they needed to grow the delivery team. And they said to me, Randy, it's going to be a long-term goal, but we're selecting you to eventually grow to that seniority in that role, and we want you to build a team. So we're going to start you out as a senior project manager, and we're going to give you a couple projects, and we'll see how it goes. And then after that stint, and this is the value that I brought, I did so well with the projects that they said, let's make you a team lead. And now you get permission to go out and hire the what we call the IT PMO, because there was an organization inside of Flutter Entertainment that had casino, and they had online gaming, which was sports, and then they had online gaming, which was poker. And each one of those organizations had their PMO, but IT had such strong clout that they had their own PMO, and they said, Randy, can you build it for us? And as a team lead, then I spent a lot of time developing the team by hiring it. And I hired 3 project managers, and I hired 3 Scrum Masters. The project managers were local in Canada. One was actually out of Dublin, 2 PMs in Toronto, and the Scrum Masters, they were going through a phase of working internationally and building a team in Romania, in Cluj. And so that gave me experience with international teams and also international projects. As well as having a team that was international, I worked on data centers that were in India, in France, in New Jersey, in Toronto, in Isle of Man. So the particular point of Isle of Man was it was a gambling organization, so they decided to have a neutral base point for their operations, and that's why their biggest data center was in Isle of Man, to keep it separate from a lot of regulatory. They were very smart in their infrastructure. So, so knowing these processes that happen at large organizations can be applied to smaller organizations that I've seen, but can also I'll fit right in the discussions that happen with large organizations. So, like I said, delivery can change on a dime. Their budgets change, or their KPIs change every quarter, and they'll come by and say, let's change this project. And so understanding that conversations is what I can bring value to for Lenovo, because then I can execute what I learned in my best practices of change management and say, that's fine. We understand that change happens. Let's execute a change order. So let's get in conversations into what you agree and what we agree to change on the original SOW. and cost it out. Let's have the architect design it, and then let's have the costing team price it out for you, and then let's get it signed. So the ability to have those conversations is what I can bring to the table.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because people often forget that, there's so much you learn from working for small organizations as well. And quite often they've got a lot more best practices than the larger organizations just because they're smaller, and people tend to follow them, and they're probably more invested in it because they probably helped design it. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes people often forget that you don't have to have worked for massive organizations. It's the best practices that you can bring to the table and say, well, hang on a minute, I used to do something very similar to that, and this is how we did it there. And that's what we're really looking for, is somebody that's got experience that can come in and help navigate. And obviously with your various different qualifications as well to help bring in some of the stuff that you've learned would be great. All right. So one of the big pieces that the transition team does is obviously we set up the IT systems. So obviously for ITSM, we have to make sure that, and we typically use ServiceNow, and then we integrate with whatever the customer service or ITSM system is. And so one of the things that we struggle with within Lenovo is that we've got a lot of homegrown kind of back-end systems that we've got IT system teams in China, we've got IT teams in India, and they've built these like in-house. And so trying to get them to connect to ServiceNow can be clunky, is not always perfect. And so especially as we're bringing in new offerings, quite often, and I hate to say this, we've not thoroughly tested it, and we're going to have teething problems. And so that is a big point or sticking point for a lot of our customers, because maybe they've not got the updates as quick as they want and things like that. And that continues into service delivery quite often because we're moving at such a fast pace, because we're new and we're evolving and we're bringing in new offerings all the time. So what experience have you got in terms of dealing with those kind of problems, and what ITSM systems have you got experience with?
The ITSM systems that you listed, I all have experience with, which is Remedy, ServiceNow. My smaller organizations used even Freshservice. So right now, BrokerLink, for example, uses Zendesk. So, so I have, I've always wanted to be able to put into my organization ServiceNow, but at $40,000 license. So we understand the Gartner model. They have the 4 quadrants, and ServiceNow has always been at the very top. And prior to ServiceNow, in the 1990s, I had an experience with Remedy, because that's who actually started. I remember in the 1990s, everybody was talking about the golden path, how Remedy would have a parent ticket and shoot off child tickets. That concept of child tickets was new to some people, and I was like, yeah. So that golden path stuck with me throughout the Remedy days. Then ServiceNow came like a wave and overtook everything, and the smaller ones, like I mentioned, Zendesk and ServiceNow, have taken the smaller organizations that are a bit more cost concerned, and I have used all of these in prior deployments and prior practices of my service delivery, and in my recent job with Flutter, before BrokerLink, at Flutter they used Jira heavily, and that's where we pushed the boundaries of what can be used inside of Jira. I was coming in from a delivery standpoint that you got to use Microsoft Project. And working with the engineers at Jira, they said you can do your project plans in Jira, and the tickets that you create with the Scrum Masters and the engineering teams will feed feedback a lot faster into your projects, and your project plans will be updated automatically. So that Jira system is so powerful if it's configured the right way, and that's what we use at Flutter. And that BrokerLink, what they use is a combination of Zendesk plus, like I said, more cost-effective tools like Smartsheets. So project management out of Smartsheets is what I've learned now, and I'm cutting my teeth on and trying to build an IT portfolio in Smartsheets where you have the tickets or the line items represented in the project, represented in the portfolio, and represented in the dashboard and reporting up on top. So that's what I'm building for BrokerLink at the moment with Smartsheets.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive. Very impressive. All right. So obviously you've applied for the job at Lenovo. Um, what kind of, I mean, were you successful? What kind of career path are you looking for? Obviously I've seen that you've been contracting and various other roles, but what's your ultimate goal in terms of your career?
To be able to work for a large organization like Lenovo that is cutting edge, like you're saying, you're
Mm-hmm.
growing the team, and the digital workplace solutions team is growing, but specifically how you're growing it is very interesting to me, which is, of course,
Mm-hmm.
always deploying services for solutions for companies, whether it's hardware or software. And the AI piece that I found in my research is so enticing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to
Yes,
bundle that
yes.
together, a service in AI would be amazing to be able to work in this future age.
Yeah, we're just really starting to hit the tip of the iceberg on that. And there's a lot of, I mean, one of the good things I love about Lenovo is they do something called gigs, where anybody within the organization can get involved. So if you've got an idea that you think would be working, you can go in and do these like mini side projects to help build our technology. They allow us to test new products. They allow us to test Motorola phones and all that kind of stuff. They want you to go in and say, well, we've got this project to do this with AI. What do you want? Can you help build this? Put your ideas in as well. So that's like kind of one of the things I like, that it's not just I'm going to do my day job, but you can also get involved if you want to. I mean, not everybody's, like you say, geeky. I mean, but there's a few of us that are. I mean, I'm dangerous. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not, a super user in any way whatsoever. But I mean, I certainly like to get involved and see how technology's moving. And if you're not going to get on the AI wagon, then we're in the wrong industry, that's for sure, because it's going to move into that very fast. All right. The other thing I always want to make sure is, I mean, obviously this role is in Canada, but some of our bigger accounts can span anything up to 96 countries. And so there is a couple of Canadian run accounts that are coming up that aren't just going to be in Canada. And also, as I mentioned, our IT teams are offshore. So just want to make sure that you understand that there is going to be some early morning, late nights, and that you're okay to navigate that. I mean, because obviously we've got to make sure that role's good for you. And I'm guessing, given your CV, you're probably used to that in some of the roles that you've already had.
Correct. The global corporations I've worked for have always been follow the sun. I've had to wake up in calls in Australia, and I moved a data center in India, so that was early mornings and sometimes late nights for them because they accommodated us, and it was a back and forth. I've worked with teams in Dublin, and I worked with teams in Romania, and also with the sports gaming of Flutter Entertainment. Their division was in Los Angeles, so I worked also Pacific time.
Yeah, which is a big chunk in itself. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions. I think I'm good for now. So I know that we're probably going to run over a little bit, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask me any questions, because obviously it's important that it's a good fit for you as well. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carol. Appreciate it. I did have a couple of them. Maybe we can start with a little bit of the culture and a little bit of, because you're experiencing it day to day in the team. What do you enjoy most about leading the digital workplace solutions team?
I think a couple of things. I mean, as I said, we are all relatively new, so I think that we feel like a family, because even as new people come in, we still remember our first day. We know that coming in, there's a lot to learn. Even the acronyms on their own is enough to learn. Every company has its own acronyms. There's a lot to learn about how Lenovo works, and it's overwhelming for all of us when we first start. And so I love the fact that our teams are so close and supportive. I also love the fact that we've got so many people from so many different organisations and background that have kind of come, as I said earlier, into a melting pot. And so we're building something that's based off lots of different experiences. And there is no right or wrong. I mean, one of the things that we try and get our staff involved in, as I said, is not just doing your day job. Obviously, looking after the customers is very important, but we also encourage that a few hours a week you take time to look and say, well, what can I do to improve things? How can I make my life better? How can I make my colleagues' life better? And Lenovo's as a whole, and ultimately the customers. So I think that's one of the good things. Plus, just the general culture of Lenovo, it's probably the best company I've ever worked for. They really do invest in your training, your learning, if you want to. Nothing's forced upon you. If you want to aspire to be the next SVP or the next COI or whatever it is, they will help you get there and help, push you along, and they'll put you onto various different training plans. So it's just the opportunities as well that we get. And of course, myself, as I said, I actually head up the transition team, but at the minute I'm covering the service delivery manager role as well. And to be honest, the teams are so closely knit that they can kind of cross between. So if you want to spend some time maybe doing some transitions, there's opportunities for you to do that and not be a service delivery manager for a year and kind of cross train. So there's just so many opportunities to better yourself and the company. So that's one of I would say, the best things about Lenovo and the team.
That's amazing to hear, Carol, because what I have done is my personality tends to want to keep learning a lot. And like I just told you, I spent the last couple of months Googling and learning AI and using different AI. So I love to learn. And prior to that, there was a stint of time that I was learning, and I used the word nerd, and you heard the word geeky. I went down the path of wanting to build my own CI/CD pipeline in GitHub, and I went and I bought all these DevOps books, and I bought SRE books from Google, and I took my DevOps certification, and I'm DevOps certified by DevOps Foundation, and wow. That has. Very few PMs or very few delivery guys do I know that take the route of wanting to learn technology. And I think that's the whole mind frame of technology, is that it keeps changing. But that's what I feel is the essence of the personality in technology, is that it has to have someone that wants to keep learning. And you're saying, yes, where I'm bringing all this together is the world of opportunities that Lenovo brings. And that's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Okay, have you got any other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple more, if it's okay with you, Carol.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
We spoke about a couple of traits and habits that you said a top performer delivery manager has, and you said communication and understanding, and also learning the acronyms.
Yes, indeed.
And yes. So I just wanted to see what was the signals or the models for a fit with the culture that you have now built with your team.
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking for somebody that, can come in. I mean, we like to get our service delivery managers involved in the transition quite early on so that they can start building that relationship with the customer. So obviously relationship building is key. I mean, in project management, service delivery management, you have got to get on with people. You've got to like people, and you've got to, have a good way to kind of keep them engaged, keep them happy, and all that kind of stuff. Being open and honest to a point. Obviously, we all have to kind of work what we need to tell the customer and what we don't. But it's really, that is the big thing, is that relationship building that is important. But it's also, and I know I've mentioned this a lot, is really just looking at what we can do to improve the account, what we can do to improve overall. Because if you're struggling to do something on an account, then there's probably a good chance that other people are struggling. And so one of the things is, I don't want to see people working in isolation, doing everything that the way that they think. I want them to share information. I want them to collaborate with the rest of the team, and I want them to make things better, not just for themselves and that particular account, but overall. So they're really the main things: is good communication and having an eye for improvement areas. Because just doing it the way that you did it because everyone else does it that way and because it's the way it's always been done is not always the right way. Things change, and we've got to change with the times and the technology. So we're looking for people that can adapt quite easily to changes, and we're changing rapidly, not just because of technology, but just because we're growing our services. So, you know, we've bolted on a couple more services over the last couple of months. So you've got to learn them. You've got to, you know, so it's the fact that you've got an appetite to learn is great, because that's what we're looking for in terms of having somebody that can easily turn the way of thinking to something else. So communication, change, and obviously continual improvement is what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear, Carol. And I guess my when I was speaking to Ty, he mentioned that maybe I'll change my list of questions a little bit now towards the process of onboarding or hiring. He mentioned that there's a second round with Tracy. Great, and maybe I would love to have a chance to talk to Tracy. I know that she's in Dallas and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tracy's my manager. So she heads up the whole of the delivery organization for North America. So she has under her umbrella myself. So the transition management office, the SMO office, and then also we have a PMO office that does some more of the projects that, you know, do a one time and done. They might go out and collect loads of devices, dispose of them, and that kind of stuff. And then we've also got the warehouses, the CFSs, which is the configuration services, where the devices go, they get provisioned and all that kind of stuff and sent out, or they go back, get refurbished. So she's got all of that under her umbrella. So obviously, you know, she will be looking for somebody very similar to what I've just explained, really. I mean, when you get to meet her, definitely she's going to be looking for somebody that can deal with challenges, that can think quick on their feet and that kind of stuff. Because, you know, as I said, we are new. We've got lots of teething problems. We are not. If you want a job where you can just walk in and everything's going to be fine and everything laid out, this is not the role for you. It's something that we need people to come in and help us build out still, because we're new. You know, 5 years is still new and we're still growing. So I would really, you know, focus on those type of questions when you're talking to Tracy.
Great. Thanks for that. In the tips and tricks of talking to Tracy. I appreciate it, Cal. Thank you so much.
No worries at all. No worries at all. Okay, have you got anything else for me?
I probably do, but I want to be respectful of your time, and I can talk Lenovo and talk technology for a long time.
No worries. Well, thank you very much, Randy, for taking the time. Obviously, I will pass on my feedback to Ty. He will be getting in contact with you because I'm sure Tracy would love to speak to you and delve into it a little bit more. As I said, you know, she will be really looking for, you know, how you deal with in certain circumstances, probably around, you know, the more tricky situations where sales are saying one thing and we believe it's something else, that kind of scenario. So good luck. I wish you the best in your next interview, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate it.
No worries. All right. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.